I'd now like to take a look at question 2. So this is exercise 24.02. So we're going to follow the same steps again. So here are the steps again. We're going to identify the sides, and based on what we find, we're going to choose a trig identity. Then we're going to write out the equation. In this case, it was sine is opposite over hypotenuse. And then we're going to substitute into the equation the things that we know, and we're going to solve. So let's do the same thing here. So here is our triangle, very poorly drawn, I apologize. And we've got one side which is a 6, another side which is a b. We're going to solve for b. We're going to find the length b. So let's identify the sides. Well, first of all, the side opposite the right angle is always the hypotenuse, so that's h. Now, this side across here is actually the opposite side. It's opposite the angle, but there's nothing written here, so we're not particularly interested in that side. Let's go back and focus. Thank you very much. This side here, therefore, is the adjacent side. It's next to the 42. Remember, this is next to the 42 as well, but it can't be the adjacent because it's opposite the right angle, so it must be the hypotenuse. So this is the adjacent, this is the opposite, and this is the hypotenuse. But we're not interested in the opposite. We're not interested in the opposite side because there's nothing here. But there's something here, and there's something here. So we're getting interested in only the hypotenuse and the adjacent. So let's write out the trig identities and see which one fits. So we've got sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. And we've got tangent equals opposite over adjacent. So we're going to rub out everything we don't need. Anything with an O. Anything with an O, we're going to cross out. Let's have a look. Well, so, there's one with an O. We don't need that. Toa, there's one with an O. We don't need that. So it must be this one here. So I'm going to write out the trig identity. Here it is. So we've identified the sides. Big tick. Now we're going to choose the trig identity. We've chosen it. And we're going to write out the equation. So here we go. So it's ka, or cosine, is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. It's always in that form. It's this equals this over this. This equals this over this. This equals this over this. So cosine, the C stands for cosine, the S stands for sine, the T stands for tangent. The cosine, and cosine of what is it? It's going to be the cosine of the angle 42. So let's write that out. So it's going to be cos, or cos 42 is equal to A. And what was A? A was the adjacent, and that was, it was a B. So let's write out the B. There it is. Over H. What's H? H was 6. So here is 6. Put 6 in here. Now, let's solve. Well, we want to get rid of the 6. We want only left with B. So I'm going to multiply this side by 6 and multiply this side by 6. Multiplying both sides by 6. And fortunately, of course, 6 divided by 6 is 1, leaving me with B, because 1 times B is B. There it is. Now I'm going to go 6 times cos 42, and I'm just going to do it straight onto the calculator here. 6 times cos 42, nice and straight and simple. 6 cos 42, execute. And I get 4.5. 4.45, I'm going to call that 4.46. Equals 4.46, and it's going to be, in this case, centimeters. So B is equal to 4.46, and that's how I would solve the second one. All right, well, I've done a couple for you. Hopefully that makes sense. The key, though, is to follow through the steps. So you identify the sides, what's adjacent, opposite, and hypotenuse. You work out the one you don't want. And then you cross out everything of the trig identities. You write out the 3 trig identities, and you cross out the one you don't need. So in this case, we weren't dealing with adjacent. There was nothing written for adjacent. There was something written for hypotenuse. There was something written for opposite, but nothing for adjacent. So let's see, anything with an adjacent. There's A for adjacent, A for adjacent. Cross those out. We're left with sa. So we're going to write sa. Sa, of course, stands for sine. There it is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, and that's how we write that. We then substitute the values in, and in this case we had an A, which was O, and H was 10. We divided both sides by the bottom. We want to get rid of the fraction, leaving me with just an A, And of course, multiplying 10 by sine 36 gave us 5.88 and so on. So that was how we did each of those. Nice and simple, nice and straightforward. Now go to the rest and apply those principles. If you have a difficulty, let me know.